Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul did very well in the recent Iowa straw poll. He came in right behind Michelle Bachmann. So why is most of the media ignoring him? Kristen Kane is live in the newsroom tonight with that story. Kristen?
Melinda, results of the poll came out this past Saturday. Candidates were doing one-on-one interviews with all of the big news organizations and networks, but not Ron Paul. No interviews for him, no mention of his name. Even one of the nation's most popular political comedians found it quite obvious. Take a look.
Top tier. It is Mitt Romney, Rick Perry, and Michelle Bachmann.
We have a new top tier, and it's Perry, Mitt Romney, and Bachmann.
There's now a top tier in this race, at least for now, of Romney, Perry, and Bachmann.
I think that's fair to say.
A new Gallup survey showing Rick Perry running second to Mitt Romney, knocking down Iowa favorite Michelle Bachmann to fourth.
Behind who? Fourth behind who? How did Libertarian Ron Paul become the 13th floor in a hotel?
Leave it to Jon Stewart to turn something very serious into something very funny. And that's the way Ron Paul sees it, too. I sat down with him in his small office in Clute, where he was all smiles.
I think Jon Stewart is certainly not in our political camp, but he likes to pick out those things that deserve to be made fun of, and he did a pretty good job.
After getting pretty much zero recognition for a job well done in the Iowa straw poll, all Ron Paul can do is laugh about the matter and move on.
Well, it's great being ignored. You get a lot of attention. From all the attention we're getting, I'm being, a little bit cynical now. Yeah, we were ignored, and people want to know why, and I said, well, you have to ask the people who ignored me.
Even though he thinks he deserved some media attention, he's not about to complain and pick a fight. Instead, he thinks the media just doesn't understand his philosophy.
I give him a pass and say that they do not understand it, and they don't want to be bothered with it. It's a threat to them because they don't want to deal with it. So maybe if we just pretend he doesn't exist. But believe me, it's not going to work.
But Rice University political science professor Mark Jones says there is a reason Ron Paul is being ignored.
Ron Paul is a fringe candidate, and he will always be a fringe candidate, and there's no reason for the media to treat him as a serious presidential contender when he is not and never will be a serious a legitimate candidate to run for the President of the United States.
Mark says even though candidate John Huntsman and former candidate Tim Pawlenty do not have a serious chance of winning the election either, they get more attention than Ron Paul because their beliefs are more mainstream.
No, its ceiling's too low. That is, there's only about, say, 5 to 10% of the Republican primary electorate who will support Paul. It's a very loyal following, but there isn't really much room for growth, in part because some of his positions on the issues are pretty extreme for most Republican primary voters.
Now get this, all the attention about being ignored is now turning into a win. Several local and national news organizations were at Ron Paul's office today interviewing him.